What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the studio. Hope you're all doing well. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Charlie. Good to be back. Good to see everybody here. Good to hear everybody, too, after last week's little technical issues.
I had to turn my volume off there on the laptop.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, this is fun. This has been a lot of fun. We're back in with Iron Point for our third episode with them, finishing off recording this song and getting to demo these mics on bass and guitar today, which is going to be really cool.
Yeah, and so for people who are just tuning in for the first episode, this is actually the third in a series. And so we came in the first time, which was, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we listened to a couple different mics on acoustic guitar and vocals and percussion. And the mics that we were mostly using are the Mini K47 and Mini K87 that you can see there. And then we came in a week ago and laid down drums, which was really awesome because we heard these same mics on overheads, and then we brought in the Mini K47 KD on kick, and then we also brought in a surprise mic, which is a mic from my DIY company, Mic Parts, called the Snare Mic, and that was on snare drum. And so all that stuff's up on YouTube on the Roswell channel, and if you're interested in the mics, I would definitely invite you to check it out because Charlie and Ernesto and the guys in the band did an amazing job of making all this stuff, easily accessible.
We've had a few nail biters, but it's been a lot of fun overall. What's a session without a couple technical difficulties sometimes anyway? You know what I mean? That's what makes it real.
That's right.
Right, Anthony? You out there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So we're going to start out with, we have our drum track and we have our acoustic guitar track from the first episode and the vocal. And what we're going to do today is we're going to print some bass and 2 different types of electric guitar. Both Adam and Anthony have different tones. So we're going to track that, and you can definitely, during sound check, it was great because you can really hear how each mic handles each sound source, which is really cool. So it gives you some good options, and it will give you a great idea of how these mics hear a sound source. And we're going to start with the low end because it's all about the rhythm section. At least that's what I was told when I went to school. All right, let me turn Anthony on here first. You out there, Anthony?
Yeah.
All right. We do have a talkback mic out there, but it's a little low. All right, first off, let's just dive right in.
Yep.
And just play me a little bit. I'm gonna start off. I have the Mini K47 up. That's what we're gonna hear first. Let me make sure I got the right checks on. All right, Anthony, I'm gonna mute you in here. Go ahead and play for me a little bit. '87. '47. '87. Thanks, Anthony. So off to my ears right away, and I don't remember what I'm sending you out there in the live room. You hear exactly, I'm going to repeat something Matt said, I think it might have been the last one. For me, the difference on this is that boost around the 4K area in the Mini K47 pulls that forward, and the 87 stays nice and smooth. And it's a pretty big difference, wouldn't you say, Ernesto?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got Ernesto back behind me. He's probably going to chime in some today. So let's hear this context. I'm going to roll. We'll start with the 47. I'll let about 4 bars roll, then I'll flip to the 87. We'll take it from that spot we talked about?
Yep.
Cool. Let me make sure I'm there. All right, here we go.
Came to you, so string me along. I'm untied, but I can't face you. You're the spark, you're the light, the moon eclipsed you. 'Cause I've grown so tired of waiting around. Will expire without a sound. 'Cause I've
Cool. That's actually a good section to hear the difference because of the bass parts. So I'm going to roll this back. I'm going to turn the bass up a little louder maybe than I should, just so we all can hear what we're listening for, because it is a little harder to get bass to translate in the stream so you can really hear what's going on. So I'm going to crank it up a little bit. Anthony, I'm just going to do playback for a second. So here's the 47.
So tired of waiting around. We'll expire without a sound.
The 87 definitely.
So tired of waiting around.
87.
So tired of waiting around.
The difference on its own, at least to my ears, Ernesto, I don't know what you're hearing back there. For me on this, it's not huge yet. It is different. You can hear the pick of the bass definitely a lot more here. On the 47, where the 87's a little bit wider sounding, this is going to be something to listen for once we get guitars on, though, because that's when the difference between these two mics on the bass is really going to jump out and how they're perceived. At least that's what we heard earlier. Let's see, we got everybody. All right. Matt, how you doing over there?
I'm doing good, thank you, man. Okay, can I make an announcement too?
Go for it.
We're streaming this to two channels. We're streaming to the Roswell channel, and we're also streaming to Charlie's and Ultimate Studios channel. But we're going to do a little bit of a giveaway later tonight. And so the way we're going to do it is we're going to give away a bunch of T-shirts. And what I would ask is that people leave a comment on the Roswell channel, on the Roswell channel version of this video, of this stream, just to say, you know, what you thought about the streams, which mic you like better, on what source, that sort of thing. Leave a comment, and we're going to pick 10 winners and give away T-shirts, which you can see on your screen. So if we pick your name, then you can pick which T-shirt you want, and we'll ship that out to you. So, but that's on the Roswell channel. So those of you on the Ultimate Studios channel, be sure to leave a comment on the Roswell side.
Get over to that Roswell channel, leave a comment. Can I enter?
You can.
But can I
'Cause you
win,
don't have
or
enough-
am I excluded?
You don't have enough Roswell T-shirts yet. So
I know I need enough for like a week, you know?
yeah, and for you, that's what, 2 or 3, right? Sure.
It is the middle of a pandemic, man. You can wear your clothes multiple days. But yeah, so
Each
you guys
shirt has
watching
2
on...
sides.
Yeah, exactly. For you guys watching on our channel, I see Billy is joining us from Germany. 4 in the morning, man. Welcome.
Right on.
Alex back in.
Long distance award.
Got Gary, John. You guys head over. If you want to win a T-shirt, head on over to the Roswell Pro Audio YouTube channel. Leave a comment. All right. Back this. Let's listen to this one more time, because I want to make sure. One thing with bass, like I said, it's hard sometimes to translate, and we don't have anything but drums for it to go against, so it's easy for it to kind of stick out. With this, but with these two mics, though, there's going to be a much bigger difference as we get down the line. You're going to hear it when there's one guitar, and by the time we get Adam done, we have the second guitar on there. It's going to be a much larger difference between what these two mics do. And what you like, I don't know. It's, you know, everybody's different. And so far in this room, not all of us have been able to agree ever on our favorite mic on any source. We always, it's one person's likes one thing and the other likes the other. Especially Anthony and I. He always likes one, and then I like the opposite.
What can you do?
Exactly. So one more time on this bass so we know where we're at. Here's the 47 with the drums. I'm actually going to mute the vocal. Let's just listen to the, for a minute. Nothing against your vocal, Anthony.
I'm offended.
87. We'll get keeper tracks later. So another thing, remember all the drums, all this stuff, there's no processing going on with any of this. We're just I'm even on the clean side of the board. There's no input transformers on this half of the console, so we're just trying to keep it as much the mics on the source as possible. And I'm missing my acoustic guitar. Let me get that over real fast. Let's see, where's my acoustic? There we go. Wait, Anthony. There we are. All right. There we go. 47. See, I don't know what you guys are hearing. I'd be curious, but what I hear, right, just adding the acoustic guitar, I started with the 87. The second I went to the 47, it's pulling almost the pick sound out a little bit more and bringing it forward. And we are pretty darn close to being level matched. We made sure of that when we were getting toned. So the, excuse me, I had some peanuts before we started. The difference you're going to hear right now in perceived volume really is going to have to do with how these two microphones are reacting to the frequencies coming at it. So the frequency curve of the Mini K47 is one, and the 87 is different, which I'll let Matt do the, reiterate the technical details there. But they are a little bit different. That's the difference that we're going to hear in this perceived volume, because we are, matched within like a half a dB, which is pretty darn close. So Matt, what is on the 47? Where is that bump again?
You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. I'm just wrestling with some audio stuff here. How unlike me. So yeah, the main difference between these two mics is the capsule. Mini K47 has a K47 capsule. It's a particular kind of design. Mini K87 has a it's actually a K67 is what it's called. They're different drilling patterns, different construction, and so on and so forth. But what everyone here cares about is not how they're made so much as what they sound like. And as Charlie said, the K47 has a presence bump around 4 or 5 kilohertz. And it's a really interesting frequency range because it brings out sounds in a way that is really just sort of hard to do otherwise. It's not the same as going into an EQ and boosting things. It just somehow doesn't quite work like that, at least not to my ear. So anyway, on guitars, it can help give life to guitars. It can bring out the sound of drums and without exaggerating cymbals and that sort of thing. It's good for vocal articulation. So, but on bass, Charlie, were you going to say about the pick sounds and so on?
Yeah, it's just I hear more of that coming through the mix a little bit, even just by adding a simple acoustic guitar on one side. It just has that presence. That doesn't mean it's the right choice. I'm just pointing out what I'm hearing difference-wise.
Isn't that also what the 57 frequency graph is? Has that huge bump around 4
It
and
does.
5? Yeah.
Yeah, the SM57 has a big bump at 4 to 5 or 6 kilohertz as well. Now the 57 has more of a rolled off bottom end, and it's as a dynamic mic, it tends to only hear whatever's right in front of it, whereas a condenser mic tends to hear further into the room. But yeah, you're totally right that between like 1 and 8K, a K47 bass mic and the SM57 have some things in common for sure. Similar color.
One final thing I'll mention, then I'm going to give Anthony one more push on this bass part before we go to guitars, because I know he's going to kill me if I don't. The one thing we haven't talked about yet on the Mini K47, we actually set up to have the KD version up as well, but once we level matched everything, it was so similar in the low end that instead of having a third mic out there, we left it off. It's just the KD can handle a lot more input, so you can put on a kick drum. But that low end in the 47 is really round. And that's why I like it on a kick drum. And that's even why it's not kind of nice on a bass, because it's fast. The low end on the 87 is fantastic too. It's more natural to me. The low end on the 47 feels like it's almost been shaped just a little bit. So it punches through, which is one reason why I like it on kick drum. I love it on a bass cab, and why I like an 87 on something like a cello or something, because it's more natural the way it handles the low end. At least that's what I've noticed. And I definitely like the 87 on the cello. Anthony, let's do those parts one more time on bass, get a takedown, and then we're going to have you pick up the guitar.
Cool.
All right, buddy, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Boom. All right, there we go. Now we got our track to use. And I backed off the bottom. I'm going to start sitting this bass back a little bit more, at least for what my headphones are telling me, where it might be in the track. So it won't be, as for, you can go ahead and, man, pick up the guitar. Let's get this sucker switched over, and then I'll let Anthony tell you what they've got for rigs, or his rig, and then Adam can tell you his. So I'm going to set the bass back just a little bit so it's a bit more not in your face. And then we'll start to see how the difference between these two mics, how they peek through the instruments. Again, not using any cue. Nothing's happening here. We're on the clean part of the board. It's really just the instrument, the player, the microphone, into the DAW. That's it. And then Anthony's getting set up. Reminder, all you watching on my channel, I'm seeing some folks popping up here. What's John have to say? Yeah, John Wells says the 47 has a little more point to it, but still likes the 87. Alex says 87 with some added grit is where my mind is going. Okay, I can dig that. You guys, if you want a shirt, head on over to the Roswell Pro Audio YouTube channel, because we're live there right now too. Leave a comment. Get some clothes. During a pandemic, you'll have to do a lot less laundry. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm going to enter too. All right, he's getting tuned up. This is where it's going to get interesting, because we're going to start getting some fuzz, a little distortion going. It's been nice now with the acoustics. We're going to leave that acoustic in because that is part of their arrangement. But we're going to start heading a different direction, so we're going to see what happens now with these mics and some distortion and there we go. There we go. Yeah, play a little for me there, buddy. This is the 87. Cool. Hey, give me a little bit of that fuzz. 47. Cool. So Anthony, just tell us real quick so everybody has a bit of a reference. What's your setup?
So my amp is a Fender Deluxe 4. It's on, I believe, the second channel with a huge presence boost. Everything else is pretty, I think maybe the treble might be pretty high, but everything else is pretty even. My pedal board is just a Big Muff clone, so like a mini. And then I just got my Fender Vintera Jag, so it's just like a, modern vintage, Jaguar. So that's it. Other than that, everything, even on my bass as well, all the tone is rolled up. I'm a Guitar Center guitar player. So everything's at 10 all the time. But if anyone's curious for the fuzz, the volume is about above a quarter. The tone is at 75%, and the sustain's probably about halfway. So it gives it that Smashing Pumpkins. So yeah, that's it. That's my setup. Real easy.
What no one knows too is I'm recording the talkback mic, which is one of Matt's other's mic parts, the T25, which I'm going to keep off for this. But yeah, it sounds so cool with the talkback on there. So that's Anthony's setup, and this is cool because it's a completely different tone. Adam, who's back behind me, is going to have a more overdriven kind of sound. So we're going to get two very different pictures of some distorted type sounds and how these mics work. So let me get the bass down. Where my guitars at?
Should we quickly say about the mic setup?
Yeah, Ernesto's got a good point down there. Let's let you know just what we're doing here, so everybody has a. You can go ahead and zoom in on those if you want.
So let's go to what the.
He's in the middle.
Yeah, so 7. So let's go here 7.
There we go. Okay. So this is how we're doing these mics. We have them on our stereo bar just like we did with the drums, so we can switch in real time. and we are kind of on the edge of the dust cap with both of them, as close as possible, so they're not dead center, not down in it. They're a little bit out on the outer edge, just to kind of keep it clean. And they're about an inch or so from the grill, so they're not exactly right up on it. And we'll do exactly the same thing with Adams, so we get it's as apples to apples as we can possibly have in comparing these two microphones. And again, we have level matched really, really close. So the differences you're going to hear in volume is going to be perceived volume based on the frequencies that you're hearing. And we made sure we did that. All right, Anthony, you ready to do this thing? Okay. Here we go. The red light went on and we're live.
And I panicked.
And he
man.
panicked.
I was like, wait, I don't play guitar.
That's all right. Neither do I. You play better than I do. So let's try it again. Here we go.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know, for the bass, I'm leaving the 47 on right now. Here we go. Guitar is 87. Nice. Michael, I see you're on there. No, the capsules are not at different points in the cone. We made sure of that. The angles we have in the cameras kind of give that illusion, but they are not.
I'll go back to it.
Well, it's just the camera angle makes it seem like it is a little bit, but it's not. We made sure of that. I was prepared. All right, difference. Anthony, sounded good there, brother. I'm gonna do a little playback here. Gonna start with the 47. '87. '47. '87. Very different. Holy smokes, those mics are different now. You've got the 47 is really, that thing jumps out at you. The 87 is a little bit, I want to use, it's kind of darker. It's a little bit fatter sounding. Again, all this stuff is just, these are tools. I mean, I don't want to sell you on one idea being better or worse. It's all depends on, one, what you're recording, what your preferences are, you know, what your personal aesthetics are with sound, or what the song needs. You know, you may need a guitar that cuts. I need to get that through. EQ's not quite doing it for you. You pick a different microphone, like the 47 BAM, it jumps out. You maybe have a shrill guitar sound and you're not quite getting what you want. You put the 87 on it, kind of smooths things out a little bit. And you start using the mics almost as a EQ choice as well. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Sounds great.
Matt, you there?
Yes, sir. You can hear me?
Yep, I'm always just checking in, just make sure.
Yeah, man.
Reminder?
Sounds good.
Yeah, Michael over here says the 87 got the warm thing. Exactly. And I'm telling you, I use both of these mics a lot. I mean, a lot. And Anthony has as well, and Adam actually, because the Iron Point, their initial EP had these, I think that Marshall, their producer or co-producer, really liked the 87 a lot, so that got a lot of use on guitars, and the 47s were on the overheads and the drums. But I go back and forth on these mics on a guitar, on an overhead, depending on what type of song it is. If it's a song that's supposed to be more aggressive or modern sounding, I might always lean towards the 47. If I need to build some depth, you know, maybe I'll put the 47s on the drum overheads, but I'll put the 87s on the guitars, so not everything is competing in those same areas, and you start kind of creating depth, and it's a lot of fun recording that way, actually. which is kind of what they did when they did the Iron Point EP. The first one was just changing those mics up on the different sound source, and he said there was almost no mixing going on.
Yep, barely.
It was done during tracking.
Yep.
And I really like these two choices on guitar because they give you two entirely different things. And now,
Switcheroo.
Mr. Adam, we're going to put him to work. So Matt, do you have, I need to go switch some microphones from Anthony's guitar over to Adam's guitar real quick. So
Yeah.
do you have anything? Sounds like the 47, Mike says, Michael Jung over here says, sounds like the 47 has a peak between 1 and 2. It's actually a little higher than that. Is there a difference? That's a good question. Is there a difference in that, 1 to 2K area with the 47 and the 87? And I'm going to go switch mics.
Yeah, so I think I heard you. So apologies to folks. The Zoom audio that I'm getting is apparently deteriorates over time. So the 47's frequency response has this presence bump around 4 to 5 kilohertz. The Mini K87 is essentially flat. There might be like a 1 dB bump at around 2, but it's it's a lower frequency than the K47 and a much smaller amplitude than the K47. And so they should sound pretty different. Charlie mentioned before about the 47KD on bass cab. And so the 47KD is the kick drum mic, and it does sound very much like the Mini K47. It should. It's the same capsule, and that's mostly what determines the sound of the mic is the capsule. That's true of condenser mics in general. What we did in the KD is, and that's this one here. What we did in this is that we changed the circuit in a couple of ways, lowered a bunch of voltages to create more headroom. We reduced the low frequency filtering, although in practice, we're talking about the -3 dB point being maybe 10 to 15 hertz as opposed to 20, 25 hertz. So it's not like you're going to be +6 at 80 or anything like that. And that's why when Charlie put it up, once you adjust gain, it ends up being in a pretty similar place. But yeah, as far as the 47 versus 87, I mean, it's really all about that kind of 1 to 10 range, and the 47 is going to have this presence bump around 4 or 5. That's the character of that capsule, and that's the character of that mic.
I muted myself. I'm seeing Alex here says use both to get even more separation between guitar parts. You totally do that, actually. And one thing I want to mention too about this, we're actually going to, not during the live stream because we want to do this in a timely manner, but we're going to record the other guitar parts and everything, and we're going to put this all together in a way that you guys can check out and hear the differences between all these mics for yourself in the comfort of your own home once we're done. So now I've moved over to Adam's rig. I made sure I have the mics placed in the right spots. Adam, play for me a little bit. Yeah, dude, give me the chorus riff. The 87. So we're hearing exactly what I expect to hear. You go to the 47, it comes forward, and you get this little darker, rounder sound, more natural sound from the 87. Both are cool. I don't know. I'm gonna have to read through this. I'm really curious to see who likes what after all of this. This is gonna be kind of cool. All right, let's do this. Let's get a little bit, let's track a little section here. Or actually, before we do that, real quick, what's your rig so they know what we're recording right now?
It's just a 52 telly through like a basic OCD overdrive and into a Blues Deluxe. That's it.
Doesn't get more simple than that. All right, cool. And so we've got a different tone now. I mean, it's kind of cool because you're gonna have the fuzz on one side, and we're gonna have this more just kind of overdriven sound on the other. And it's going to fill things out nicely. And I still have the acoustic guitar in there a little bit because that is part of the arrangement. All right, buddy, you ready? Here we go. Nice. Man, these tones blend well. The tones come together really nicely. Very cool. All right, let's do a little listen back for a second. Just sit tight for a second, Adam, because we may try something. All right, listening back. So I'm going to start out with 47s on both mics. So we're going to have the 47 with the fuzz, and we're going to have the 47 with the overdriven tone. Switch it. Wow. Boom. What are you guys hearing out there? What's Michael say? If you want the big boomy pumpkin sound, yeah, the 87. If you want the Mike Campbell, the 47. That's actually that's pretty spot on, Michael, yeah. So you can entirely, I know you're not getting to hear it out there that when I change between them, I wish you did, but you can entirely change the vibe of the tune literally just by switching those mics. I mean, listen to this, starting with the 87. It's completely different. You could also use one sound for a different part of you get real creative in your mixing or recording process and use a different mic for different sections of the tune to make things jump out. Man, Ad, I can't wait for you to hear the difference in this. It's pretty cool. Really cool. I want to do that slide part while we're here. Can you grab, is that on the telly also?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So we're going to add one little fun thing in here, and then we're going to go back and listen to, I want to reference the bass again as we get going. Let me make sure I'm recording 11, 12, 13. Okay, cool.
Matt is on because he cannot hear you.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So this is over this pre, right? The second verse? Okay, cool. Give me a little bit of that real fast. Oh man, that tone is hot. I'm gonna pull that back a little bit. A little bit more. All right, cool. All right, you ready? I'll roll you from the same spot. Is that cool? Okay. Here we go. Cool. Yeah, everybody saw when I flipped over, they saw we were watching Mitch Hedberg during sound check. Okay, so this is what I wanted to do this for one reason. So let's just pretend you were using these, you had a couple different guitar parts real quick, and you wanted to use your mic choice to help make something sit forward or backwards against another part. So I'm going to mute, let me turn my groups off. I'm going to leave the slide with the 47. And I am going to have the rhythm. So I've got Adam's rhythm on the right, the 87. I have Adam's slide guitar with the 47, and we'll leave Anthony on the other side with the 47. I'm going to mute Anthony just so you know the reference of what I'm doing on the right side. All right, now both rhythms are going to be 87, and the slide part's going to be on the 47. Or we could flip our slide. Let me make sure I got the right tracks going. Let's go slide on the 87, rhythm, Adam's rhythm on the 47. Interesting. I wasn't anticipating that, but now you hear the slide didn't necessarily go back. That's such a, kind of specific sound, but you start to hear the jangliness a little bit of Adam's rhythm part when I switch that to the 47, kind of bend around the slide a little bit in a cool kind of way. I actually thought the slide would go back and they'd change, but they just kind of bent around each other a little bit there. All right. Cool. Adam, take a break. Okay, so I'm going to mute the slides for now. What I want to do, though, is I'm going to set a loop up here. I want to loop back, see what I did there, to what I said earlier about the difference in the bass. When it's on its own, sometimes the changes, you hear them, but maybe they're a little bit subtle. But now we can hear the difference in the 47 and the 87 a little bit more. So I'm going to mute both the guitars. Let's just hear the basic. 47 and the 87. You can hear they both emphasize two different places. So now let's turn, I'm going to go 87 for both rhythm guitar parts. So 47 in the bass, 87 for both rhythms. So what I hear, at least just off the top of my head, is you can almost hear the shift of where the low end is. The 47, you hear a bit of that pick coming through, that cut. You hear a nice round bottom, but it's maybe not as thick in the low mid. And when we switch to the 87, I hear a bit more of that low mid area kind of coming through, almost more the fundamental of the bass actually. 47. 87, 47. So you start to see, 87 gets you the guts a little more. Yeah, the 87, there's something nice about the way it picks up the fundamental of the bass. Even though it maybe isn't as forward, at least right now, you could always EQ, do a lot of stuff to it, but in its natural state here, it's not as forward as the 47, but there's something about the fullness of it that's quite nice and quite cool, actually. That would, you could hammer it with some compression or do something else. Matt Phillips says a 47 on the bass is a winner for him. Although he's changed his mind about 5 times. Yeah, that sounds about right. Michael Jung says 87 holds the bottom better for sure. Yeah. It's interesting. It's just different. It's kind of cool to hear how different it is because we have all gone back and forth on it. I go, I like the 87. Anthony's like, I like the 47. It's great.
I changed my mind on the overheads.
Did you really?
Yeah, the 87s are like my favorite on the overheads.
You can't hear, he's behind me, but he says the 87s now he loves. But they're tools to get you different things. That's really the whole point with all this. And one thing that Matt and I wanted to kind of, stress is it's about choosing the right paintbrush to get what you need. And whether it's a specific sound you want to hear or it's dealing with a specific sound source. If you've got a drummer with harsh cymbals, you probably don't want a microphone that's going to be emphasizing that anymore. But if you have a drummer with some really dark cymbals, maybe you want something that emphasizes that high end a little bit more to help pull some out of it. So it's all just tools. Right, Matt? Absolutely. Oh, we lost him in the stream.
Can you hear me?
We got him on the phone. We've been having some technical difficulties. Yeah.
Sorry, I was
Oh, there
double
he is.
muted.
There we are.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Double muted
I can hear you talking. No, yeah, that's absolutely right. They are tools or paintbrushes, and the whole point of them is that they sound different, and so you can, get different results from them, and hopefully realize whatever your artistic vision is just by having the right microphone at hand to do that.
Right. I'm reading, just seeing some other comments pop up down here. Alex says he mostly prefers the 47 on the guitar, though. And John says 87 could be cool for recording a Joe Pass style jazz guitar. It is, man, speaking of jazz guitar, we did that right before the Coltrane Jazz Festival, which we hosted here. We had to do a pre-recording with Michelle Coltrane the night before. So we had video to run the next day, and her guitar player, we did it old school. We had, a couple keys DI'd, a live bass in the room, a live guitar, and her vocal, nobody in headphones. And we had an 87 on the voice and an 87 on his guitar. And for that old kind of nice jazz tone that he had, it was perfect. It sounded amazing. We didn't have to do anything to it really in the mix. It was great. Billy Ray Bush over here says, both sound great. Tools to color the sonic landscape. I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly it. That's perfect. You guys, Matt, over on Roswell channel, I want to remind the guys that are watching it on the Ultimate Studio channel, he's going to be giving away some t-shirts. You got to go over in there and leave a comment. And what are the, I'm keep looking back at Matt, who's on the screen behind me. What are the parameters?
Yes, so the eagle-eyed viewers that are in the chat on the Roswell stream pointed out that YouTube doesn't let people leave comments, and I guess until after the stream is done. I thought you could leave a comment, below the video, but that's apparently not something that you can do.
No, oh yeah. That's true. So you have to do a live chat.
Leave a comment in the chat, and we'll somehow chase you down that way. I don't quite know how that's going to happen, but we'll figure some way to get your shirts to you.
Seeing if I missed anybody.
So there was a question on my side comparing the Mini K87 to the Delphos 2. And it is a good question because those microphones both aspire to the same thing in a sense, which is sort of neutrality or transparency. In practice, the Mini K87 is just a little bit brighter, like 1 dB, maybe 1.5 brighter at 9 or 10K. And the Delphos 2 is basically flatter. And then the Delphos 2, of course, has higher output. It also has a switchable pad, and it has 3 polar patterns. So it's more versatile in that sense. But as I mentioned in one of the earlier streams, one cool idea that you could do with those 2 mics, because they are pretty similar in tone, is to use a Mini K87 as the mid, and then a Delphos 2 and figure 8 behind it or above it as the side channel, and do mid-side recording, which is a sort of a coincident stereo technique that degrades to mono really gracefully because everything is actually centered. So it's really kind of it's almost like a mono mic with ambience. But that's a pretty cool technique, and those 2 mics would work well as a pair for that as well.
Yeah, and that technique, which we're going to do something on, I think I'm going to get a video up on sometime soon, because that whole mid-side thing is so useful, especially if you're in smaller rooms doing drums and stuff. It can get you a nice ambient tone and add some space around the kit, even if your room isn't necessarily the greatest sounding room. But kind of getting that set up right is important, but it's really, really good to use. I saw a comment here from Michael Jung that was interesting, and I'm not going to try that right now, but I'm going to do it, and I'll report back, where he wanted to take the 87 and 47, basically do a crossover and use the top end from the 47 and the bottom from the 87, which could be really interesting.
That is interesting.
Michael, I'm going to try that, and I'll report back to you. I'm not going to fumble around here. So one more time, I want to take a listen to this from the top of what we recorded. I'm going to run, let's see, how can we do this scientifically? I'm going to run everything right now. 47 bass, 47 Anthony guitar, 47 Adam guitar. Oh man, I was turning around to Anthony, when the fuzz guitar kicks in with that 47, man, just like it's getting punched in the face with Mike Tyson. It just hits you. All right, let's go 87 on everything and see what this feels like. I want to check one thing I heard and see if I'm hearing stuff. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. Okay, interesting. At least to my ears, when I heard it with 47 bass, 47 on both the guitars, I heard the presence of the kick drum. Because remember, we don't have an inside kick mic. It's just the mini KD47 on the outside of the kick. And when it's with the 87s on the bass and guitars, I can hear like that upper mid range of the kick coming out just a little bit more. And when it's the 47s, whatever presence we had on the kick just gets buried in that barrage of high end. Interesting. I didn't notice that the first time around. But that's cool. That's cool. So two very different tones. You got big and fat with the 87. You got aggressive and in your face with the 47. You can mix and match and create some really cool tones that way. Let's see.
87 on bass, 47 on guitars. That's Alex.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael, I'm going to try that after this. Yeah, you and I are going to talk again about that. That's a cool thing. And 87, yeah, there's something about the low fundamental of the bass note with the 87 that's really, really cool. So anyway, Matt, anything you would like to add in conclusion?
No, I'm all set here. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us on these. You know, this has been kind of a new experience, trying to do this, showroom type thing. In a real setting, recording the band. I want to thank Anthony and Adam, who are sitting behind me here, for playing and being a part of this. They're great. Go check out Iron Point. Anthony also has another band, can I say? Teenage Wrist, that you just released a new single. That's right, yeah. So they just dropped some new music. And we will be putting these Roswell sessions out sometime soon, so you'll get to hear all the other stuff that we recorded with them, with video. And they will be in the studio sometime, I would assume next year, doing some new songs as well. Matt, thank you for allowing us to do this with you. This was really cool. We had a lot of fun. Ernesto and I did. It's been
Right
great
on.
putting
Yeah.
it on.
Well, thank you guys, because it seems ridiculous to even say it, but I couldn't have done it without you. Sitting here at the far end of a crackly Zoom call. Yeah, this has been really great. And thank you to the people who have tuned in and watched. I know a lot of folks have come and seen all 3 episodes. Really appreciate the comments in the chat. I got good feedback via email, and I do appreciate everyone's attention on all this stuff, because it's been good for us to put this together and demonstrate these and see how they're working in the real world and make some new friends and acquaintances as well. So I am going to I made a quick list of the folks in the chat and did a quick random number thing. So I'm just going to read off the t-shirt winners. If you guys are ready, actually, I'm going to give 5 seconds of patter. What are we doing on time? We got a couple minutes. Actually, here's so anyone who hasn't left a comment in the chat, the live chat next to the video, please do so you can be included in this drawing. So Charlie, I wanted to ask you a question during the drum episode that we didn't get a chance to do.
Go for it.
And that is, because I think it would be an interesting quick conversation, and that is, how do you pan overheads, stereo overheads? Are you hard right and left, or something less than that?
Most of the time, not hard right and left. Sometimes on minimal setups, I might, just because it needs a little bit of spread, but I almost always leave room for my guitars and other things on the outside. So I may go anywhere between maybe 60 and 75% with my overheads most of the time. I think right now I'm breaking that rule. Let me check. Yeah, I'm breaking that rule. So most of the time I'm not, but for this, because it's a minimal setup and I wanted to kind of get the toms spread out a little bit, since we didn't have any close mics so we could pinpoint the panning, I'm spreading it out a little bit further. And that's, I would say that's fairly common for me in a minimal setup. But a lot of the times in a larger setup, once guitars and stuff are there, I pull the drums in a little bit, because one, it takes cymbals out of the way of guitars, especially if you have distorted and fuzzy guitars. And two, it focuses the kit a little bit more and makes it even more punchy to me. I mean, if there's 20 toms, you got a Mike Portnoy kit, okay, you might use your entire field, but most of the time, I'm not a big fan of hearing a tom over here and then a floor tom over here. I like them in kind of there, and they come out and punch you in the face a little bit more.
Right on. And does that change much when you do different patterns? Like if you're doing an ORTF versus a spaced pair or something, you still keep it fairly conservative?
ORTF, I don't do XY that often. It's not my favorite. I just don't enjoy what it sounds like to me, but I do like ORTF. And it's still the same thing. I may tend to go that one a little bit wider than I would if I was doing my spaced pair, just because it by nature, it isn't as wide as a spaced pair, but usually not 100%. Like all the stuff we've done with like at the Cult Festival and all the other live streams, those were ORTFs, and I was about 75–80% out on those, leaving a lot of room on the edges.
And if you are miking a big kit, with the spaced pair on the overheads, at what point do you start worrying about having a hole in the middle, or does that not concern you?
That I don't personally, like with the setup I use, I don't really have that much of an issue that often, which is maybe why I don't ever go. Maybe that's why I don't like the wide thing as much, But it all depends on where you have the mics placed in a spaced pair. I split the kit a little differently than most people do, which makes it easy for me to get a good stereo image with less wide panning. If I was a more traditional left-right, I might pan them out a little bit more. But I'm trying to recall if I've had any issues with it kind of being a hole in the middle. Usually not too much. That'll get filled in with, snare drum and whatnot that's there once you fill it in.
Cool. Thank you for that. I think that's helpful. Last week during the drum thing, I was kind of cut off due to the audio issues, but I also wanted to make a quick sort of public service announcement about room treatment. So anyone, and I think this applies to guitars and vocals as well, but for those of you who play and record the drums, the sound of the room is going to be in those overhead mics. And so as a test, so I've got some treatment. You can see some stuff behind me, but before I put up those new panels, I gutted the room and recorded my drums, and and then hung all the treatment and recorded again, playing the same thing. And it was beyond night and day. It was a different universe of sound. And when the room was open and empty, the drums sounded huge, right? Through the overheads, which was a cool effect. But I thought, is that really something that I'd want to use all the time? I mean, you're stuck with it. You can't take the room out of the overheads. If it's in there, it's in there. It's much easier to add that sort of reverb sound later through a room mic or a plug-in or whatever. So if anyone's interested in seeing my little video, I put a little video together for this class on microphones that I teach, just because I think it can really improve the quality of recordings if the room sounds good. Now, that's not new information for most everybody here, but for anyone who's starting out, it's a big deal. It's a bigger deal than you might think.
Yeah, anytime you have something like drums or an acoustic instrument, the room definitely has a large impact on the overall sound you record.
Yeah.
And drums tend to be loud enough to excite about anything and everything in a room, so that becomes an issue.
So I'm going to segue briefly and read the list of the 10 people. Actually, I ended up with 11. 11 people are going to win a t-shirt. So if I read your, I guess this is your URL, sorry, your YouTube handle, username. Drop me an email, tell me your username and your shipping address and what size shirt you wear, and we'll get a shirt out to you. Let's see if my buttons still work. Yeah, so there's our t-shirts. You can even tell me which one you want. And that's that. Okay, so in no particular order, URL Tom, Brandon, B-U-E-L-L, sorry, I'm not gonna try that. Reaper Blog, John Tidy. P Height, that's P-H-E-I-D-T, Michael Young or Jung, EC4610, I guess. Tyler Jackson, Tom McNally, Ivan Carter, Alex Min, Dale Cooper. So if I read your name, congratulations, you got a t-shirt coming. Get in touch with me via email. You can find my address on the Roswell website. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you soon. I hope we're going to do, Charlie, we're going to do more of these in January?
Yes, we are working on some ideas now, and we'll be back. Plus, we'll get all the rest of the video that we have for these shoots out, so everybody can check all that stuff out too.
Yeah. Yes, we'll have a music video and of this song that Iron Point's been doing. I think we're going to do downloadable stems,
Yep.
which should be cool.
That's the plan.
Yeah, so Charlie and Ernesto have been recording gigabytes of media for all this stuff. So you see a little bit during these streams, but there's a mountain of SD cards down there.
We have a whole other rig that you can't see back behind here that's hooked up to a whole other set of interfaces that are hooked up via light pipe to our main rig, recording the live stream in real time, all multi-tracked. So we can go back and do whatever we need to do. And we're going to do it. All right, you guys. Thank you. Matt, you rock. Thanks again. Iron Point, you guys rock. Ernesto, you rock. I'm the loud guy that's always yelling at you, but I really appreciate you all being here. Be safe, and we will all see you soon.
Right on. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.